1977, first pro game I ever played, Charlotte. And I was just telling the gal that works for the Knights here about what a wonderful experience it was. Their star player was Eddie Murray, and he was a star back then. And the shower had 4 shower heads, 3 did not work, 1 worked, and there was 6 inches of water in the floor because that didn't work either. And that was my memory of Charlotte. This is much nicer. Much nicer.
What do you remember from that game? Did you pitch in that game?
I don't believe I did. I was in the bullpen to start, obviously, and I remember Eddie got a couple hits, and I looked at him like I had never seen anybody like Eddie, college or anywhere. He was raking, and I think he hit a home run from the left side and a home run from the right side, and I thought, oh my. And it's funny because our careers pretty much overlapped from the minor leagues all the way through the end of it. In fact, we were teammates in '94 in Cleveland, and he was a great teammate. So it's kind of funny that your initial memories can turn into something that long-lasting.
Yeah, if I make a personal question, what is your legacy in the baseball?
I was the last of the old school. I completed games. I went out there to win games, and I won games. And I gave the bullpen a chance to rest up for the next day. It's not part of the game anymore. It just, the game has changed drastically, and, pitch count, probably the reason, radar guns, another reason. But just the overall philosophies are different today, and it's nobody, I don't blame players at all. They're just the product of what's happened.
So who do you blame?
I don't think there is a blame. I think it's just the way it's. Evolved.
I mean, you won 175 complete games in your career. You 293 innings back in '83. Nobody does that anymore.
No.
I mean, Jack McDowell, who does games on TV here, he thinks it's making the game worse. I mean, you got guys only looking to go 4 or 5 innings and then navigate through bullpens that aren't very good. I mean, do you think that?
Well, I think it's making the game a lot slower. And if speed of game is something they truly want to change, then they've got to condition pitchers to go deeper so that there's not, 7 guys on each side coming in the game. And you see 14 pitchers. I remember as a kid, I went to see Nolan Ryan pitch against, whoever. And it was Jim Cott maybe or somebody like that. You went to see 2 guys. You didn't go to see the bullpen. The bullpen game in, you almost wanted to leave. And there's days where I feel the same way today.
I mean, I think back to '91, that epic Game 7, you and Smoltz. You wouldn't see that anymore. You guys would be out after the 7th inning.
Yeah, well, John was, and I keep reminding him of that. You weren't such a young little whippersnapper. Maybe you had a little more credibility. It's fun. It's one of the things I always have over John Smoltz.
It sounds like what you're saying is that. Do you think we can go back to those days? Can we go back to the days of 25 complete games a year? Are those days?
Let me ask you this. Do I look like I'm a freak? I'm not a freak. I was just conditioned. That's what that's what our generation did. And then it changed after our generation. And we live in a world where technology is better than it's ever been. I can openly admit that as I watch youth baseball at every level, the kids are better than we were at every age group, because of the conditioning and training and knowledge and understanding of what they can do to be better ball players, from both offensively, defensively, and pitching. So with that being said, there is no reason that guys can't throw 250 to 290, 300, maybe 350 innings. They can condition them for that, but there's no desire to do that, at least at this point.
Jack, you were the ace of 4 World Championship teams, Tigers, Blue Jays, and Twins. Any one of them stand out? I know they're always special, but anyone in particular stand out as you think back?
Well, I think, as a player, you dream of that first World Series. So, I came through the Tiger organization, 13 years in the system with Detroit in the big leagues. And to win it in '84, we were all kids in the minor leagues that came to become men in the big leagues and then figured out a way to win. And so, that's always special, that first one. Then I'm a kid going home to Minnesota where every fantasy came through. It's every kid's dream to play in front of your home crowd and then to be lucky enough to be in a world championship and do as well as I did. I mean, it's like a fantasy. And then I continued the whole crazy run by going to Toronto and bringing back-to-back world championships with my teammates. And sometimes I have to credit them more than me, especially '93, to bring in world championships to Canada for the first time. So pretty lucky, pretty good run.
When you look at the Twins this year team, obviously you know pretty well. What do you think about this team? About where they are, their development?
They've got a lot of really talented young players. Their outfield is as good as anybody right now. Defensively, Buxton in center, I think, is the best there is defensively. But you see what Rosario's done. He won the American League Player of the Week last week. Kepler's gotten hot again, and here's a kid that might be the best hitter of all of them when it's all said and done. Buxton's starting to figure things out. He's shorter to the ball, and when he gets on base, he creates havoc. I mean, the only guy I can even compare to would be Willie Wilson, maybe Devon White, but Ricky Henderson, and his sheer speed. Ricky was quicker his first two steps, but first to third, there's no chance that Ricky could even caught Buxton. He's that fast. And then you got Miguel Sano, who's going to be an absolute monster someday if he takes pride in not leading the league in striking out every time. So, they've got four really good players. And you got Dozier, Mauer's playing great. This is a team that scored a lot of runs last week, and that's why they jumped right back in the race. But pitching's always going to be a question until they get a staff of, bona fide ace, number one. Santana's had a good year, but I don't know if he's in bona fide number one, And those teams that go to World Championships and win them, they have a bona fide number one and usually have 2 and 3 pretty good, too.
You mentioned the race, and there are 12 of the 15 teams in the AL within 3.5 games of the wild card. Is that crazy to you?
That's the way Bud designed it. That was his dream, to have parity and have everybody have a chance late in the year so that fans would still have interest and go to the ballpark and spend money. I mean, it's a perfect storm, isn't it? I look at baseball. I saw every team at some point this summer, and there's no question there's two teams that stand out. Houston in the American League and the Dodgers in the National League. Those two teams really stand out. And to me, just because of the way we played the game in our generation, without a wild card, without interleague play, there's a part of me cheering for both those teams ending up in the World Series, just because in a way it would be a shame that they're played so well all year long and then have a team that's hot in the last week that probably wouldn't even have been in postseason during our time because of the records, get hot at the right time and run the table into the World Series.
Question I would ask you too, not to keep asking questions in front of everybody, but I mean, obviously your track record in the postseason speaks for itself. Is there anything that you look at in players and see as a common trait for guys who do well on that stage and that clutch performance in that?
Well, if there is a common denominator, I think the guys that can stand out when the spotlight's on them are guys that have the ability to focus and block out all the distractions. Everybody gets an adrenaline rush knowing that the world is watching. You're on the world stage, so everybody's watching. And that in itself gives you just a huge rush. But you got to control that emotion somehow, and you have to be able to focus. And I think the guys that have the ability to slow things down, to kind of keyhole it all offensively, pitchers in a way the same way because they got to hit the glove, to slow it all down and bring it into their own speed, those are the guys that typically shine in postseason.
So those 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th innings, the most famous game, what do you think? What's going through your head?
Well, once I got out of the jam, I think it was in the 7th inning, might have been 6th, I can't remember exactly. I had guys on all over the bases with nobody out, and I got out of it, and I knew something special was brewing. And I just, I had an adrenaline rush. 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th innings, every inning got better, got stronger, and I had a lot left. It sounds kind of like I'm bragging or talking like I'm a freak, but it was an adrenaline rush, and I was not leaving. And I told TK that, and that's well documented, our conversation. But the bottom line is, he wanted me out there. He saw what I was doing, and I was getting stronger. And he just wanted to protect me as far as not getting hurt. So he gave me a chance to take myself out. But there was no leaving. That was my people. You know, Minnesota was home, and I looked up there and I saw myself in the stands cheering for the Vikings as they lost 4 Super Bowls. You know, this ain't going to happen tonight. We're going to win. If we have to stay here till the sun comes up, we're going to win. And the Braves were, you know, they were a scrappy team just like us. Neither one of us were supposed to be there, and yet heart really played a big part of it for both teams. There was a lot of heart on both sides.
You mentioned how Bud designed this wild card thing to keep fan interest, but you hear all the time that kids are not interested in baseball like they used to be. If you had to be the commissioner and try to bring the kids back in, what would you do differently to get that interest of the young kids back into the game?
Well, I don't know what you've been reading, but there is growing interest again for baseball, partly due to the concussion syndrome in football, and that's sad. It's a part of football that they have to address. But let's stick with baseball. I think baseball is a game that takes patience, and I talk to kids all the time at youth levels, and I remind them that it's a game of failure and dealing with failure. You know, 70% of the time, the best hitter in the game is going to fail. That's not good odds. You know, how do you stick with it? How do you, when you're a 6th grader, how do you, after being cut from 2 teams, how do you stay with it because you're not the big, strong kid yet because you haven't developed yet? And that's a sad thing. It's something baseball needs to address and to keep those same kids interested, because once kids grow and get through that puberty stage and, become young men, then we're all even again. And so you don't want to lose the kids that could be good down the road just because of their size. And that's why some of my heroes are guys like Dustin Pedroia and Jose Altuve. I think is the best baseball player in the game right now. Not just because they're small, just because their heart's so big, and I love that.